What will we do first?
We're going to do The Orphanage first. Now, you may remember last year when I was in Cannes and I came back and said the best thing I saw there was L'Orphanage, this Spanish horror movie, which was produced, now officially presented by Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro made Pan's Labyrinth, which I made little secret of. I thought was just the best film of that year. I absolutely loved it to pieces. And when I saw L'Orphanage in Cannes, it was almost like the next chapter in that ongoing saga of the reinvention of proper, intelligent fantasy filmmaking. It's a terrific ghost story. It's directed by a guy who's his first feature, Juan Antonio Bayona, and the story opens with a woman who comes with her husband and child, about whom she harbours a dark secret, back to the orphanage in which she grew up, with the intention of turning it into a children's home. A couple of things happen. First thing is that a weird woman turns up claiming to be a social worker and asking to speak to her son. The second thing is that the son starts making friends with children who appear to be, or maybe, or perhaps they aren't, imaginary friends who may actually be somehow related to the children that originally lived in the orphanage. And from there, the story turns into this very strange mixture of a very real psychological story and a good old-fashioned ghost story. The touchstones, I mean, I'm not the first to say this, but clearly the touchstones are things like The Innocents, The Haunting, I suppose more recently something like The Others. There's a Jack Clayton film called Our Mother's House, which it owes quite a lot to. It's to do with that classic form of ghost storytelling in which everything is to do with suggestion, everything is to do with creaks and shallows, everything is to do with looking down corridors and seeing people seeing things that you don't actually see yourself. And I know there's this ongoing debate, and it happens all the time, about, in a horror film, should you show or should you not show? And there's no right answer. I mean, Clive Barker once famously said that one of the reasons that he believed in putting monsters right there on the screen was because what he wanted people to do was embrace the monstrous. So when he talks about films like Nightbreed and Hellraiser, he wanted you to see them, because he said, I absolutely hate that school of filmmaking when, for the first hour you see a foot, for the second hour you see a hand, and in the last 5 minutes you see the monster for 3 seconds before it's blown up by an atom bomb. So there are very good reasons for being very, very visually explicit. David Cronenberg would be the same thing. He's talking about visual metaphors in films like Naked Lunch and that sort of thing. But in terms of this classic way of doing ghost stories, in which it is all to do with the stuff that's going on in your mind, if you can do that properly, it is a brilliant technique. And I have to say, Juan Antonio Bayona does it absolutely brilliantly. This is one of the most rewardingly creepy, chilling ghost stories I've seen in a long time. I saw it in this screening room in Cannes. It was I think it was the director's fortnight, and it was a packed screening. We only just got in. It was like one of those great things when you don't think you're going to get it, don't think you're going to find it. Anyway, you end up sitting next to somebody you've never met before. The whole thing was completely packed. And on 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, on 4 separate occasions, this person sitting next to me went and grabbed my arm so hard that, and when I came out of the screening, I actually had like nail marks in my arm.
And this would be a film critic who's kind of used to all this stuff, would it?
I don't know who it was. I mean, it was just somebody who, because remember, those screenings in Cannes, it may be a member of the public, it may be a film critic, maybe somebody who was Spanish, maybe somebody who, I've got no idea.
Did they know who you were?
No, of course not. The lights were down. Oh. And anyway, in Cannes, nobody knows who you are. In Cannes, nobody's anybody other than Harvey. That's it. Nobody counts. But it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. That thing which, when a really good horror movie, a chiller, a shocker, works, that it will deliver, real moments of scare. But the absolute triumph of The Orphanage is that it is an emotional story. It's a story about grief and loss and longing and tragedy. There's an awful lot to Peter Pan. I was reminded all the way through of, there's a poem, and because I'm a complete Luddite, I only know the poem through that Steven Spielberg movie, AI. And it's that thing about come away, O human child, to the waters of the wild, for the world's more full of weeping. You know that one?
No.
Fine. Well, somebody will write and tell us what it is. It's a very, very famous, haunting poem about, and it's related to Peter Pan. And there's, as I said, there's an awful lot of this story is about Peter Pan. It's about children and not growing up and, wish fulfillment and people becoming other people. And it's really poetic and it's really heartbreaking and it's really moving and it's really spine-tingling. And it's done in just such an elegant way. I mean, elegant is the best word for it. But the thing is that when you say elegant, it kind of suggests that there's no real good scares. It's a little bit chilly. It's a little bit frosty. It's a little bit, believe me, it's elegant and intelligent and sensitive, moving all the rest of it. But there are 4 moments in it in which, and it was lovely because last night I did an onstage interview with the director in London, and I went back to see the film again. And there's a moment in the film which I had remembered from the first time I saw it as being really scary, and I'd completely misremembered the moment. And the thing happened, and I thought, that's not that scary. And I kind of breathed a sigh of relief. And then the thing which really was scary happened, and I had completely...
Instead of saying that, can you give me some kind of indication what you're talking about? So the thing happened, and then there's something other thing.
No, I can't, because I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil anyone seeing it. No, but the point is,
what sort of thing?
I can't tell you, because then when people...
Animal?
Do you know the most hate mail I've ever got? This is related.
Giving the endings of movies away.
No, not the endings of movies away. The
Stuff
most...
in the
No, and I incidentally, people are completely correct about this. I introduced Ringu, The Ring, the Japanese Hideo Nakata film on Channel 4 many years ago. And I said, the moment when Sadako crawls out of the TV screen will really make you... And everyone wrote in and went... Not after you told me it didn't. Thank you very much, you blithering halfwit. And actually, you know what? They were completely right. It was the most valid criticism. I should never have said it.
I was going to watch that tonight.
Would much rather... No, you weren't. I would much... Pingu is the one you were going to watch. I would much rather sit here and have you cross but intrigued at what it is that I'm talking about, rather than you say...
Can you not give us any idea at all?
No!
Okay.
But here's what I say. When you go and see, if you go and see The Orphanage, right? When it happens, when the thing happens, it's not the second thing. That was the bit. And I tell you, at that moment, I literally went...
If I can't decide...
Second time round.
I've got to take my 8-year-old to either Dr. Seuss, Horton Wears a Who, or The Orphanage.
The Orphanage is a 15.
Oh, OK.
So that's the end of that.
Bill in Cambridge... just been to see The Orphanage with my 15-year-old son,
Please tell
Max.
me you loved it. 15, well done, thank you. Do you notice how he quite correctly pointed that out after
What's a good parent Bill Thompson
Thank you very much,
is.
yes.
Please
tell me you loved it.
He's going to go up in your estimation here. I'm not sure if it's him or Max. Anyway, I've just been to see The Orphanage with my 15-year-old son, Max, a big Guillermo del Toro fan, so he was keen. Right, so it's his son who's the fan.
Yeah.
Not disappointed at all. Nice supernatural theme. Enough shocks to keep both of us happy, and a satisfying if downbeat resolution. The perfect Good Friday film. Okay? Shame they're going to remake it in America. I can't see them doing a good job.
Well, except the only thing I'd say in its defence is Guillermo is going to produce the American remake. Juan Antonio Bayona is not going to direct it. He said that Guillermo del Toro said to him, "Do you want to direct it?" And he said, "No." And Guillermo said, "Good."
Chris...